Hello and welcome to the Local Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Johnson. The Local Leaders Podcast provides a platform for successful business owners to share their stories, their experiences, their advice, and their ideas in order to help our listeners achieve more success in their business and in their lives. Get ready, another great show is coming up. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeff Johnson. I'm the host your host of the Local Leaders Podcast, and we're excited to have you listening to us once again. And we're even more excited to have Peter Rosskothen on with us today. And Peter has a multitude of businesses, and I'm going to make an attempt here to kind of talk about it. We've got Log Cabin, we've got Delaney House, we've got Log Rolling, we've got the D Hotel, and suites, and there's probably more, but Peter, welcome to the show.
Jeff, thank you for having me. This is exciting. When you first called me, I wasn't sure what to expect, and just excited to be here, and hopefully we can have a great conversation and take it from there. So I appreciate the time.
Oh, absolutely. We appreciate you taking a moment to be with us because, our show is all about trying to pick the brain of people, successful entrepreneurs like yourself who have been able to kind of take it to the next level, Peter, and not just kind of create one location, or one business, but you've created several, and that gives us all. It makes us all feel good to think if one person can do it, maybe I can. So, our hope is to inspire some of our listeners and to give them some good advice from some of the trenches where you've been all your life. In building this thing up. So we look forward to hearing your story. And with that, I'll just ask which business came first and kind of tell us that story and how this thing has grown over the years.
So thank you again for this opportunity. And I hope I learned something from it as well today. My first business I do not own anymore. It was fairly well established a few years ago. I started off as Boston Chicken and now known as Boston Market. And I happened to be lucky enough to be in that world when it first started. And some people that are listening, maybe you, Jeff, remember how hot that concept was at one point.
Oh, Lord, yes. Hey, I'm from Greensboro, and you started in Winston-Salem, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, no. It started in New England.
Okay. So it's a whole nother concept.
It's a whole other conversation. But there was a lot of them down there. Boston Chicken was, for me as a 24-year-old, my dream come true. It was a perfect opportunity to be in there. I built 3 stores, borrowing from family and friends, and kind of made it happen. And then I was lucky enough to sell it at the peak of the stock market. The whole company went public, and they wanted to buy us out, franchisees, which I did. Actually worked for them for a little bit after I sold the store. And I quickly realized that what I had developed is a passion to be an entrepreneur. And it goes to your introduction. I love being in the building mode. It makes me happy. It's not about money. It's about getting things started. And so that's how, after leaving Boston Chicken, I opened up the Log Cabin, and it was just an opportunity. We were looking for things to do, we being my wife and I, and all of a sudden one day in the paper was this foreclosure notice for this restaurant on top of a mountain right where we live. And we said, well, what can we do with that? And we quickly figured out it wasn't going to work as a restaurant for economical reasons. And so we said, well, why don't we do an event venue? And we created what is today known as the Log Cabin Banquet and Meeting House. We did that for a few years. We've grown the business over the years. We opened it in '97, so we're at it now for a little while.
Yeah.
And along the way came another opportunity, which became the Delaney House restaurant. And similar story, it was in foreclosure and bankruptcy. We liked the product, and we thought we were so smart at operating the event business that we now needed to get ourselves into the restaurant business. There was a little madness to the idea, a little thinking to the idea, Jeff. And when you're in the event business, especially in my side of the country, in my little part of the world, very seasonal business. And so we always have struggled with the idea of how do we keep this whole team working year round? And the restaurant, Delaney House, became a way to figure that one out. And not figured out all the way, but it was a little better because a restaurant doesn't go through the fluctuations that the event venue goes through.
Yeah.
We do, I joke at this, but we do pretty much 60% of our business in 2 months, September and October. And then we almost do nothing January, February, March, and April. So it's very radical. The Delaney House produced an opportunity next door to the Delaney House, a hotel. Happened to be a neighbor, attached. It was relatively poorly managed, and it was really annoying us. And we kept on knocking on the door to see what we could do. And eventually that owner decided to sell to us. So that's how we acquired the hotel a few years later. And so we've been operating the hotel as now a full service hotel, which is really rare in this market. We are one of the only properties that has banquet space, has restaurants, has a spa, has beautiful rooms. It's a boutique property. So the combination of the Delaney House and the hotel, which looks like two businesses, but we really sell it as one. And then the last business that we really have gotten into that is relatively new for us is a prepared meals business. And all we're doing, again, is utilizing resources to make fresh meals that we distribute to, we own 3 stores. We call them Delaney's Market. Mm-hmm. And we also distribute to a supermarket chain. And what the trick is to make a high quality meal fresh that's not frozen. And we send it out to these locations on a daily basis. The only thing I left out, which is part of the log cabin, is the catering division. You mentioned it was called log rolling. Yeah. It's an off-premise division. It's a way of growing the banquet business. It goes, in my mind, when I think of the log cabin, started small, kept on growing, grew some more. What else can we do with that building? Let's go off-premise. So that's as quick as I can make my summary of where we are, what the history is.
Well, everything that you built there, they all tie together. So you've kind of found a way to make, turn a $10 bill into a $100 bill, and just keep rolling into the next step in the supply chain, I guess.
Honestly, you're right. I love the fact that when I want to feel the business and when I want to touch the business, and you and I maybe talked a little bit about this
yes, sir.
A few weeks ago, that I'm not too far away from anything.
Yeah.
So I'm in an office right now where within 2-minute walk, I can be in the next place. And to me, that is really good. It makes me feel happy that I can touch and feel as I go along. And the other piece that has worked for us is the ability to utilize the resources. Use the hotel as an example. We do breakfast at the hotel, and I think we do one of the best breakfasts. But the reason we do one of the best breakfasts around is we have a very solid food and beverage team. So we utilize those skills to help us with that.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like a cross marketing kind of thing too. Where all of them kind of tie together, and if you've got added capacity in one business, you're filling it, or trying to fill it from another business. And gosh, it's just it's a smart way to do it if you had the opportunity. And it sounds like
done. And some of it by design, and some of it by pure luck. I say the hotel was pure luck. I mean, it was one of those things where you don't know what intersection you're in, and it's hurting your business to have a neighbor that's not operating properly.
Yeah.
And so you work that, and you learn how to manage it. And we've done that.
Kind of like the spa business you were telling me about when we spoke before. You had not been in the spa business before, but you had to figure it out once you got in it, right?
Yeah, that was a COVID challenge, Jeff, and I still shake my head at that because I honestly never thought of us as knowing how to handle a spa. I still don't know if we know how to handle it. We're still learning. But so the story for the listener, for the viewer, is we really want to create a staycation environment here. And during COVID, if you think about it, it's actually been a really good thing. You can come to us and you can stay with us, you can eat with us, you can go to the spa. You got a lot of those things in the same environment. And so a few years ago, we took a space in a hotel and turned it into a spa and found a great operator to run it. And that operator at the beginning of COVID said, oh no, we cannot handle this. Yeah. So we decided, well, let's figure it out. Let's do it. And it's done actually really well. It's surprising to me how well the spa can do. And it does well on its own because that's how we analyze it financially. Yes, but sir. The hard part to figure out is how many people are actually staying at the hotel and having dinner because we give them that excuse. And there's just no real way to actually quantify it, but we hear it. We hear it a lot.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you've got people that probably are more local that maybe are utilizing the spa as well. And
the spa is a combination. I would say 40% is somebody that's staying at the hotel, maybe close to 50%, but somewhere around there. And the rest is local. So it fits both things, but you're a little far away, but I hope you come and visit sometime. So if you stay at the spa, we give you a coupon to come over to the restaurant. So if you're local, it's a chance to save a few bucks and hey, stay, have a dinner, or come with your wife, do a couples massage. I sound like I'm promoting that.
No, you should promote away, my friend.
I do love our business. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, challenges aside, it's been 25 years of this group of businesses that it's been a lot of fun, a lot of pride in it.
I didn't realize that. You said 1997 a minute ago. That's a long ways back. So that's a big run or a long run.
Hey, I just turned 45, so figure that out.
Oh man, that's I wish I could get away with that. You might look it, but
no, I don't get away with it. You can see the whites, you can see the wrinkles.
Yes, sir.
Well, and lack of hair, even though I think I have a little more hair than you do.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and that ain't saying a whole lot, I got to tell you. Yeah, I was a hair challenge from about 30 years old. It started backing up, and so I just decided to let it all go.
I thought about it, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah, well, I kept telling everybody I was trying to look like Bruce Willis, but I just hadn't pulled that off yet either.
Sure, you have that look.
Oh gosh, well, thank you. I'll take it. I'll take anything I can get at this point. Oh man, well, that's a great run. You started out with the Boston chicken side, and got out of that at the right time, like you talked about, and that's a blessing. And then we're had the fortune of being able to get into this business you're in today. And is it primarily you and your wife? Did I hear you mention your wife already?
Yeah, my wife has always been part of it. She's my main partner, personally and business wise. Couldn't do it without her. As corny as that sounds, couldn't do it without family. And I have a business partner who, to me, is like a brother. He owns a minority part of the business, but he's a key part of this as well. He works very hard. He's always at the business. So you see my wife running parts of the business. You see my business partner running part of the business, and then you see me running part of the business. So,
well, with all the things you guys are doing and all the different components there, I imagine it takes quite a few chiefs to keep it all in line, and it's good that you have the help. Otherwise, you might be looking like me with the hair issue.
I know you like talking about challenges in your podcast, and the hardest part of a business like this is making sure you have the right people in the right places, seeing the right vision. I mean, the meeting I had a few minutes ago was all about how do we manage people to get them to do what we want them to do. And today that's so much harder than it was 2 years ago. And I think today it's a lot harder than it was 20 years ago. How do you motivate people to get the results you want without them not enjoying what they're doing? It's so much easier said than done. And it's probably the biggest challenge of the present time is to figure out ways to do that.
Well, did you guys come up with any great ideas in this meeting today that we need to hear about?
Well, I'll tell you an example of today's meeting. I mean, over the last few months, and you heard me earlier talk about, we do a lot of business in a few months,
Right.
September and October. And it's no secret that coming out of COVID, and I like to think we're coming out of COVID, so that's an optimist as well.
Yes.
The toughest challenge for our kind of world, the hospitality world, has been getting help. And I think it's a combination of things. I think it's people that have moved away from this business because they found other opportunities. I know it's government giving them free money, so making their life easier. But I think we have to look internally into our worlds and why are we losing these people? Why are they not coming back? And some of it is what we paid, so we have to pay more. And then some of it is how we manage them, and that goes to your question. It's very easy to manage somebody. The meeting was about bar. So it's very easy to manage somebody and say, you're always overpouring, you're fired. But that's not how you get there.
Yeah.
So that was one of the conversations we had, is like, how do we get these group of bartenders to understand that 1.25 ounces is the single shot and 2.25 ounces is a double shot. And we're the kind of organization where we're really not making you measure every drink. We really want you to go and do your thing. So one of the ideas that came out of it is games. Let's have some fun with it. Let's see, challenge me against you, and let's have a little fun together without repercussions. Like, okay, blindfolded, who was the most accurate? Oh, good job. And just have fun with it and make it an engaging experience. So that was one of the conversations we just had. Trying to get people to understand what's important without being tough.
Yeah, well, that's a great idea, and actually, I hadn't really heard of, I've heard of game theory and and introducing games and all kinds of things as contests and whatnot, but never really thought about it in a bar setting. But hell, why not, right?
Well, pouring properly is very expensive if it's done wrong for us, and it's very bad for customer experience if it's done wrong on the customer side.
Yeah.
So neither side of the wrong pour goes well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of skill that goes into how you do it, at least from my side of things. And when you work with a lot of new bartenders, which is what we've been going through lately,
Yes,
we
sir.
need to get them to a level where we're comfortable that they're making great drinks, great for the customer and great for us. And
Yeah.
games was what we came up with. It's instead of being disciplining them for doing something wrong, how do we make them understand without being forceful?
Yeah, I like that. It's a great idea, and it's good that you're thinking of things like that. And you're right. Today, staffing across lots of different industries, but especially in the food service or restaurant bar or business has really been tough. And it's like you said, there's a couple things. There's quality of life. There's pay. I mean, it's a hard job to work in a restaurant and to be a server or to be a cook or to be, a runner or whatever. It's physically demanding, stressful. It's tough. And in a lot of the cases in the past, it hasn't always been a job that one could hold with, added benefits and things like that. So I think you're right. I think a lot of people left during COVID, kind of fled that industry and just haven't come back.
Yeah, everybody was blaming government for, oh, you're giving the extra $300, the extra $600. And I know there's some truth to that, but I think a lot of people fled. I think they used the opportunity to find something. I think you're 100% right. I think we're being forced, like it or not, to pay a more competitive wage, to provide better benefits.
Yeah.
And we have finally the excuse with our consumer, with our guests, to charge them more.
Yeah.
So it's easier to implement right now than it's ever been. I mean, you could have said it 2 years ago. Okay, let's pay everybody. So my average wage, I'm just going to use a real number. My
Mhm.
average wage for the kitchen line at the restaurant is right now right around 25, 26 bucks.
Wow.
If you asked me that question 2 years ago, I believe my answer would have been $19. Okay. So that's a radical change in 2 years.
Yeah.
Um, if I wanted to change that wage 2 years ago, I could have not gone up in price with my dinner entrees because my competitors weren't there and my consumers weren't ready. Today,
Yeah.
they are. Today it's okay to go up. I think somebody that's coming to visit with us, they know it's costing more and they're okay with it. So we have an opportunity to fix the salary benefit thing that has always affected our industry, meaning it's always been a little bit behind some other industries.
And the question is just how far can you take it? And the hourly wage and cost of labor is definitely, you're able to take that up and you're able to recoup it. But can we go to the next level and really bring in benefits and things like that? Because that's going to be another price raise that we don't know yet if the consumers are going to accept. So I'm hoping that they will, because the industry really needs good people again, and I know it has good people now, but it needs more good people. And I just hope that things are going to work out, and the consumers out there, our listeners out there who aren't in the space, can really understand and think it through and be willing to pay those added prices. And I think they will.
I honestly, I'm naturally an optimist, and you and I getting to know each other, but I believe they will.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge is are my peers moving as fast as they need to, so we're all moving. And if my peers choose not to, for whatever reason, that can be hurtful.
Yeah.
And I spend as much time with my peers talking about this because I think we're all in the same thing. I mean, today, Starbucks announced nationally that they have new rates for their employees. And the cheapest that they want to hire somebody nationally is $15 an hour. When you look at our area in New England, the cheapest they want to hire somebody is $17 an hour. So this is how they're working and fighting and saying it's worth it to work for us.
Right.
I don't think Starbucks was paying $12 an hour 2 years ago.
Yeah, you're probably right. And I know even places like a McDonald's, was quite low in the past, and even chains like that. Of course, they're a big chain, but they've been working as well and moving that up and talking about it. And so I think that's important, making sure the consumer is aware of what's going on, so they understand when they see an item that costs now another $1.50. They understand where that's coming from. So I think educating the consumer is important too.
I know we're talking about other places, but around here, I don't know if this is happening where you live, Jeff, but I've noticed on McDonald's, they're promoting, I believe the number is $3,000 towards education if you work for them. So targeting a young person, clearly, which is their type of employee. But think about it, a young person that is going to community college that is getting $3,000 if they sign on with McDonald's, and I'm sure I haven't applied, so I don't know what they need to sign and commit to get the $3,000. But that's a big number to attract somebody.
Yes, sir. That's. Can you imagine if we could have gotten something like that at 18, 19 years old?
But we all got to compete with that. I mean, this is what we now, for us as a medium-sized business, that's a conversation that needs to happen every day. It's like, are we getting people that are happy with us? Because if they're just taking the job and leaving in a week or two, we're failing along the way. So how do we get them and keep them with us for a reasonable time?
Yes, sir. And speaking of that, I think you're in a great position, and I'm sure you recognize it, is that to me, restaurants specifically, I know you got other businesses, but it was always kind of a job, and a lot of times you were limited in upward mobility. But with a business like yours, you've got lots of opportunities, within the different businesses where good employees who work hard and want to grow have an opportunity to move up in their lot in life with someone like you.
I'm lucky that I have some movement, but there's times where I don't, and I need to recognize it. So I'm going to go back to the conversation, the meeting I had before this podcast, because it's an interesting thing. So the gentleman that was in my office is somebody that started with us as a either waiter or host. It's been with us for about 8 or 9 years. We liked him then, we like him now. He's one of those people that you see the potential.
Yeah.
I said it to him 20 minutes ago, half an hour ago. You are going to run a restaurant. And he looked at me and said, you know, Peter, that I want to do something bigger in the next 2 years. And that was his way of making sure that I would not be offended if he found something bigger. And to me, I love that, because I'd rather him tell me that. I'd rather him use me. If I can't help you internally to grow another level, let me help you grow somewhere else, because I'm going to be very proud if you run a restaurant down the street just because I put 10 years of my life into you. It would make me feel good. Nothing wrong with that, because if I can't give him what he wants here, at least I can help him. And if I can give him what he wants because I have more opportunities, man, it's a good way to keep a good employee.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it really is. And you know, I've heard a couple of franchisors who've talked about that. You know, is that's one of the benefits of, you know, kind of building out that franchise is it gives them an opportunity to move people, you know, into a franchise ownership position once they really tap out or top out, you know, within the organization or the roles that they are. And you know, some people, you know, can do that, some can't, but you know, it's
for a business like mine, that's hard. I mean, unless I want to offer shares and make us employable.
Yeah.
We thought about it, but we honestly, I don't know if that's something we'll do.
Yeah. Well, like you said, if they top out with, you know, with you guys, at least you're understanding and willing to help them move on to the next opportunity. So
I feel that if somebody sees that and they give me 8 or 10 years of their life, and somebody sees that, maybe I get 8 or 10 years out of somebody else. I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've done this now for a while. I mean, I think there's a sense of pride to see people do some big things. I mean, one of my old employees I found out the other day is a regional manager for a big part of Asia for a hotel chain.
Oh, wow.
He started with me as a high schooler, and so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, very nice.
That happens, and I know some people always get upset when people leave you. If they leave you the right way for the right reason and they grow, I think there's a sense of pride that comes with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine so, especially, you know, as a leader like you are, and you want to see people, you know, move up, move on, and do better in life. And so, you know, it's kind of like being a parent, being a boss in a lot of ways. You want to see them be successful.
We're parents all the time with a whole bunch of children in this business.
I'm sure that's very true.
Literally, especially because so many of them get their first jobs with us. So
yeah,
so they learn how to become young adults really very often in this industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a case for a lot of owners and entrepreneurs like yourself who had a lot of people come through. How many employees do you have in all your businesses today? Are you at 50 plus or?
So today we're at our peak because of the season that we're in.
Right.
We're probably issuing about 350 paychecks. Right. If you ask me that question in February, and this year February is going to be worse than normal because COVID still has some issues happening. We'd probably be at about 170, 180, just to give you a sense of the fluctuation.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's still a lot of people. You got kind of running through the, you know, all the different businesses and that you're responsible for, and helping them all develop and grow, and at least the ones that want to is a big part of your job as the, you know, as the leader. And it's awesome that you understand it and you're doing all you can to help.
I'm changing with the times too, Jeff. I've always been a person that gets involved and gets to know the team. But I truly, like I said earlier, I think it's changing. And I think it's critical right now for me, but everybody in our team, especially the management team, to change.
Yeah.
The way we used to manage has got to change a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it's interesting, and it's going to be interesting to watch kind of how that evolves over the next year or two. But hey, I wanted to ask you also about, not to switch gears on you, but I guess to switch just a little bit, but it's still a challenge for many owners. And you've got multiple uniquely different businesses, but are you seeing supply chain issues across all your businesses?
It's awful. It's awful.
Yeah.
Back to the meeting a little while ago. Jack Daniels. Right now, you can't get it.
Can't get Jack Daniels.
I'm sorry?
Did you say Jack Daniels?
Jack Daniels.
That's a crisis right there.
That is a crisis. Jack honestly has an extremely loyal following. Like, a bar without Jack Daniels is really a weird thing.
Yeah.
And then add to it that the distributor, every time you want to order it, they limit you to 3 bottles. So if you're a small restaurant, that is probably okay. But when we buy Jack Daniels, we've got to buy a couple of cases. And so we're scrambling to find something that we can tell the consumer is as good as Jack Daniels. So you're learning.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great Tennessee whiskey. That really is. But there's this brand loyalty to Jack that is really hard to overcome. And it's just an example, again, from today's meeting. It's like, okay, well, let's order this. Forget what we decided, but let's order this one because we need a backup. And then how do we educate our consumer that it's not us refusing to buy Jack, it's just not available?
Yeah.
The other thing is mind-boggling right now, and I don't know how many people realize it, but we will not have Dom Perignon champagne in this country for almost 2 years.
I had no idea.
It's not going to happen. So when somebody wants a special celebration and wants a bottle of Dom, that's gone for the next year and a half to 2. So how do we fix that? That's a supply issue. That's France shutting down. That's a whole bunch of things happening along the way. One of the coolest, and it's not cool, but it's cool, supply issues that I faced in the last 6 months, it's just mind-boggling. Our distributor could not deliver to us. In Massachusetts, in addition to supply issues, right now we're facing that we became legal cannabis state. And so there's a lot of ways to think about it, but one of the interesting ways that I don't know if anybody ever thought about, truck drivers need to be tested for drugs. If you smoke or consume a cannabis product, it's in your system for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Drivers get fired after fired after fired because it's what it is. So our distributor, major distributor, second largest in the country, local distribution center, sorry, we cannot deliver. We got weddings lined up, we got things going on. Sorry, we cannot deliver. We have nobody to deliver. So we're large enough. We say, okay, what if we bring our trucks, we pick up the order. We literally went to the warehouse, picked up our order. The local president helped us load our trucks. This is a guy that runs the entire New England region.
Oh, wow.
Right there next to us, loading our trucks so we could get food to our people. It's just the weird stuff that's happening these days is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
We feel today, if you talk to my ordering people, they're pre-ordering more than ever. They're loading up our freezers way in advance. So if we have an event that needs prime rib, we're not worried about getting it. We have it. If we need a turkey for Thanksgiving, we already have it all here. We do not want to worry about it in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So it's an answer to your question, but supply is a major challenge right now.
Yeah, well, it's just lucky and that you've got the space and the capacity to be able to freeze, extra.
I don't know how a small operator is handling this right now. And we operate a little cafeteria that is a small operator. We make our manager there go to Restaurant Depot or Costco to buy all the stuff that he can't get from the regular distributor.
Right.
Or you didn't get bread, drive to Costco, you buy the bread, because there's no other way to do it. Very weird what we're dealing with these days.
Yeah, it's a strange world, but I never made a connection to the, I knew that drivers, people in transportation sector and things like that, it had an impact on the supply chain, but I never connected it to the legality of cannabis in so many states.
I tell you, you talk to the people at this distributor, and they're federally regulated, so these drivers need to get tested.
Yeah.
And it's not like alcohol that you can get out of your system within 2 days. So you can party pretty hard, and get tested on Monday, and you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And not have cannabis on Saturday and be tested on Monday and be okay. It's in your system. So
yeah, that's a problem. And I'm in North Carolina. Virginia is our neighbor to the north, and they've just legalized small quantities of I guess cannabis and all that kind of stuff as well. And we've got companies sitting up there on the border basically that that have big locations in Virginia that are headquartered in North Carolina. So my wife's in the staffing business, and so she's struggling now with the non-legal state corporate offices mandating that the drug policy for cannabis right across the border where all their people are, and it's crazy. It just doesn't make sense. It's like, look, if it's legal, it's legal. Leave them alone. If it's not, then maybe have a policy. But
it's not happening in mass. I mean, it's an interesting challenge in our world. So our states around us are not legal as of today. They're slowly going to be there. So at the hotel, I see a ton of people from New York State coming because we actually happen to be in the first area in Massachusetts that opened up cannabis stores. And so there is this regular flow of people that come here, stock up, and leave. But they think it's legal, so they go and smoke it in the front of the hotel, and that's not legal. When you read the law in Massachusetts, small quantity, and you have to be in a private space. You cannot be in any public space.
Yeah,
people don't know that. They have no idea, and so we have to manage it. I don't do cannabis, but the one problem with cannabis is that's hard to manage is the smell is so clear.
Yeah.
That it's you gotta truly be in a very individual place because whatever. And then if I smell it on an employee, it's like, oh God, how do we handle this?
I'll tell you what, it's tough to be a businessman today, isn't it? Or a woman. It's there's so many different things out there and that we have to deal with. But it's definitely interesting. Let me ask you one last question. I just looked at the clock and I realized I've been rattling on too much myself over here, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'm about on my time I'm supposed to have with you. Now the hotel business was a new business for you as well, and then you've had COVID and all that. Has that business kind of recovered? Is it still recovering? How's that piece of the business?
I studied the hotel business a lot. So for us, we're a suburban destination. So we're not a big city like Boston, Chicago. When you look at the hotel business in Boston, they're still far from recovering. Very few people are talking about it, but they're far from recovering. For our type of properties, it's actually been a boom after, I'm going to say, May of this year. So as soon as COVID relaxed a little bit. The staycation world is bigger than it's ever been. People from down the street staying in a hotel. I mean, literally down the street. And there's an awful lot of what we call the transient driver, the people, let's go for a drive, let's go leaf peeping or whatever.
Yeah.
The hotel for the last few months has had the best few months in our history. Not making up for the crap of last year, the beginning of this year, but it's done okay.
Well, that's awesome to know. I'm glad to hear it, and I'm sure you were glad to see it. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine how bad that was back during COVID. But you're right when I think about it, because people are kind of getting out of the cities, where there's a gazillion hotel, rooms available, and wanting to get out into more space, which
Come
makes.
to our area because we have a lot of green around us.
Yes, sir. Yes.
You got rivers. You want nature. This is where we live. It's easy to live here with outdoors.
Yeah, and it's a very destination themed business that you've got going, and for anybody that wants to get away, long weekends or short weekends or what have you, that there's plenty to do to fill up a few days and really get away from life and enjoy being pampered and taken care of.
We all enjoy that.
Yes, we do.
Yes,
we do. And we're willing to pay, and that's what matters, and that's how you keep all those families you got working for you moving forward. And I encourage all our listeners, or anybody in the area or outside the area, to get up there and visit with Peter and his team, and check out the properties, the spa, the restaurants, which is the lighthouse, the hotel. I mean, he's got it all up there. And if you're in that vicinity, make sure you plan at least a night or two over with Peter and his gang.
We'd love to have you. Same with you, Jeff, and your family. If you ever come our way, just say hello.
I would love to do that. And in fact, I've got a daughter who wants to come up toward New York at some point, so maybe we'll start moving in that direction. And she's just gotten out of college and started her career, so if we can work something out, maybe we'll get a little short family trip together and head that way. So I'm looking forward to it. One of my goals is to try and visit with all the people that I've had a podcast with. So it's
you should write a book like that. Wouldn't that be kind of cool?
That would be really, really cool. You're exactly right. It'd be really nice.
Story behind the podcast.
Yes, sir. So maybe we can get up there and have a few memories with you as well. I certainly hope so. And I do want to thank you. And first off, before I do that, let me just ask you, is there anything you wanted to touch on that I haven't brought up yet?
I think it's fascinating to talk about our own businesses, and I appreciate the opportunity to do so. I feel my life has had a lot of luck, and I'm proud of being sometimes or most of the time in the right places. And anybody that wants to go after a dream, make it happen. Don't just dream. Go for it.
I think that's the best advice that you can give. And, everybody who's listening, who's thinking of that, just sometimes you just got to close your eyes and take the step, right? Step off the cliff.
That is the biggest difference between an entrepreneur and a dreamer. And every once in a while, we have to take a leap and have the guts to do it.
Yeah. I had that conversation with my daughter-in-law last weekend, who wants to start up. She's a baker, and she wants to start a little bakery business, but she wants to keep her full-time job and do it on the weekends. I said, you can do that all day long, but you're not going to make a living baking on the weekend. You've got to take the step. You got to go at it.
And if it fails, it fails, but then there's no regrets.
Right. You just, you got to be all in, baby. But anyway, thank you so much, Peter, for being with us today. I kept you longer than I meant to, but I appreciate your patience and your willingness to just chat with us and share your story and your thoughts on the business and your challenges that you're facing. Thank you for sharing that with us or with me and our listeners.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. So everybody, Peter Rosskothen on with us today. And again, I encourage you, we're going to put the website up here on the screen for those viewing. But I encourage anyone in the area to go visit with Peter and his team and enjoy some life out there in the in nature. Get out of the big city. And again, thank you all for listening to us for another episode of the Local Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Johnson. And I thank you guys for being here with us today.